This week, we review Fox's last X-Men film, Dark Phoenix. So pop some corn, grab a soda, and take a seat, because you're now listening to The Casual Cinema. Hi everyone, welcome back to The Casual Cinema. I'm one of your hosts, Josh, joined as always by Nathan. And on today's episode, we talk all things X-Men, or more specifically, all things Dark Phoenix. As usual, this will be a spoiler review, so if you haven't seen the film or plan to see it, then turn this off and come back later when you have actually seen the movie. Good news for those of you who have seen the film, because we're going to be spilling all kinds of beans. But first, we've got to start with the synopsis of the movie, which this week is brought to us by the purveyor of all film reviews, Rotten Tomatoes, because we obviously know they are 100% accurate in all their reviews. 100%. So, without further ado, let's get stuck in. So, Dark Phoenix. In the film, the X-Men face their most formidable foe yet, one of their own, Jean Grey. Now, at the beginning of the movie, you've probably seen this in the trailers, but basically there's a rescue mission in space. Jean is nearly killed when she's hit by a mysterious cosmic force, aka the Phoenix Force. Once she returns home back to Earth, the Force not only makes her infinitely more powerful, but far more unstable. Wrestling with this entity inside her, Jean unleashes her powers in ways she can neither comprehend nor contain. With Jean spiraling out of control and hurting the ones she loves most, she begins to unravel the very fabric that holds the X-Men together. Now, with this family falling apart, they must find a way to unite, not only to save Jean's soul, but to save our very planet from aliens who wish to weaponize this force and rule the galaxy. So basically, it's the same old spiel you've gotten from most recent superhero movies. There's aliens, there's space stuff, and there's superpowers. Anyway, Nathan, positives, if any, about this movie. What do you got?
Hello. Jeez. Alright, you done? I almost fell asleep there.
Yeah, sorry about that. Thanks, Rotten Tomatoes.
Okay. What am I doing? Positives.
Positives.
That's a nice short list. I don't know. I don't have a lot of positive things to say now that I think about it. But I have to say, for me, I think Magneto really saved the film. I think he was probably Michael Fassbender, probably the best actor in the film, and just, I don't know, he probably has my favourite powers to watch on screen compared to everyone else. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was just, when he popped up here, I think he just really saved the film.
I was going to say, doesn't he save every one of these movies pretty much? Whenever he's in it, it's just like, ooh.
Yeah, but he was desperately needed to save this one.
Yeah.
The scene on the train when they find the aliens is probably the best part of the movie. Well, yeah. I thought so anyways.
Yeah.
It was the most action-packed, and you got to see everyone's powers in action. Especially Magneto does some really cool stuff in that scene.
Yeah, believe it or not, that's on my list as well. And and Fassbender on my list of positives. Yeah.
There you go. He saved it. The villain was the hero of the film. And I thought Nightcrawler had some good scenes. That's his name, right? Yeah.
Yes.
He had some good scenes as well. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
improved him a bit.
Yeah, I'm on the same note. Like, for example, on my list of positives, I said some performances. I thought Fassbender was really good. I thought McAvoy had his moments. We'll get into some more negatives about, not necessarily McAvoy, but Professor X later on.
I want to say that, yeah, a negative for me was the acting felt off. Like, it just wasn't great. I don't know what it was. Or maybe it was the characters. Either the acting or the characters. Just something felt off in the performance that was being delivered.
But in terms of McAvoy, in terms of Professor X?
In terms of everyone.
Alright, well, if we're getting straight into the negatives, I mean... Okay, I didn't even...
Please, tell me, hey, well, go, you go, tell me.
Sorry, I just meant that for me, like, I thought McAvoy and Fassbender were good. I thought McAvoy, not as much as Fassbender, but I feel like that's got more to do with the fact that ever since First Class, they've kind of shafted Professor X in so many ways, because when you limit a character to a wheelchair, he just can't do many cool things anymore. And I felt like when you rewatch First Class, you see him running around using his powers, so it's just cooler. But now it's just like, oh, okay, he's just sitting around, and all the younger X-Men are doing all the cooler stuff. So I feel like that's the case with him, but I still thought he was good. And I thought, in terms of the younger X-Men, there were still some good performances here and there. But I also honestly thought that Sophie Turner as Jean Grey was probably the best out of the younger characters. Like, I thought she did a pretty good job with what she had, although she's pretty much in one state of mind throughout the entire movie. That is, she's always just torn. Like, she's just, as I said in the synopsis, just unstable the whole time. So she's just acting, I don't know how to describe it, very like either angry or sad or just one of the two.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with the train sequence was probably the best part of the movie. But it's funny because I didn't know this until I read about it, that the train sequence was actually a reshoot. That whole sequence wasn't originally in the movie, but when they did reshoots for the film, that was added in.
Oh, thank God.
So I'm glad it was added in, but it's kind of a testament to whoever thought about it, that they just went, oh, we're going to add in an action sequence that might help the rest of the movie. So let's add it in.
Do you know what it felt like? It felt like there was no love in this movie. Do you know what I mean? It felt just really like slapped together.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly felt that the beginning of the film was actually pretty good, right? I thought that the beginning of the movie, I was like, oh, okay, they're going for this new take on the X-Men, something I hadn't seen in an X-Men movie before, where the X-Men were heroes. Like, you only really got that in, like, Deadpool, even. Like, even Deadpool and Deadpool 2, with Colossus, you got the idea that these guys were actually heroes. And in this movie...
Yeah, I did like that.
In this movie, you felt that they were actually heroes. And then all of that kind of gets thrown away. I guess this is us transitioning into the negatives, that it gets thrown away because the movie kind of falls back into the same X-Men cliches and tropes, which is just, oh, the public doesn't trust the X-Men again, and it's like, because they're freaks or something like that, and you're just kind of stuck going, well, you guys had something at the start, and then you kind of just threw it away. But yeah, I kind of felt the same way. I mean, it's funny because I've got a list of negatives, and one of them actually relates to another superhero movie, and that's Justice League. And that's that I felt that this movie, like Justice League, kind of felt like, as you said, it was slapped together. A lot of things were just thrown, and whatever stuck and hit the wall was what they went with. And it kind of feels a bit messy. It feels like when it was in the editing process, you can see things were cut out and just concessions were made. Does that make sense? Like, they just kind of went, oh, we'll just gloss over this storyline. We'll just move over this, this.
Yeah, for sure. I just think the writing was sloppy too. The pacing is so weird. Like, I don't know, things just kind of happened, the characters just stumble around and things just work themselves out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they just kind of, like, go from place to place and things just kind of solve themselves. Like, the X-Men didn't really do anything in the movie except play fight with each other a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, by that logic, it's more like it's a scene-to-scene movie. You know what I mean? Like, there's not much going on. It's more like you're just jumping.
It's just point to point and, like, no, like, a bit of filler's nice. Like, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, it's like
weird.
It's like,
it's hard to explain.
Yeah, it's like this, right? Like, I don't know. I can't remember if you saw it or not, but I've talked about the fact that I really like Blade Runner 2049, right? Like, it's a really, really good movie. Visually, it's stunning. The story's really complex, and every one of the scenes in that movie is meticulously acted, right? And between those scenes, however, is these big gaps where nothing's really happening. However, you're at least watching the movie and appreciating it, from the perspective of, oh, wow, the visuals are fantastic in this movie, right? I feel like this could almost be the same thing, minus the length, because it's not as long as Blade Runner, but it's the same thing of you're just jumping from scene to scene, and because whatever filler there is, there's just no pizzazz to it. There's not even a visual element to it that's like, oh wow, that looks really cool. It's just like, been there, done that. You know what I mean? It's
very generic.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I was really cut that Quicksilver was benched for essentially the entire film. That had to be the most disappointing thing. It's just like, oh, he's injured, and then he pops up again at the end and has one line. It's like, fuck, I don't know. He's probably my favorite, and it's just shafted.
Well, you know that's got more to do with the fact that he's basically a MacGuffin, right? Like, he's this character who just runs in and can save everybody and deal with any issue. And the problem they have here as the filmmaker, Simon Kinberg, the director and the writer, who was only ever the writer in the X-Men franchise, and unfortunately, but he was made the director in this case because Bryan Singer, well, I don't want to get stuck into what happened with Bryan Singer, but basically you can tell that they knew how powerful Quicksilver was, and they knew that they already used him in a way in X-Men Apocalypse, where Apocalypse was able to stop Quicksilver because of the fact that he's just this uber powerful mutant. And because they're using another uber powerful mutant, they felt that they probably couldn't do the exact same thing again. So they just decided, oh, well, how about Jean throws Quicksilver and he goes flying and then he's wounded and then no one talks about him for the rest of the film.
They don't even show him injured or ask how he's doing or anything. He just disappears. It really annoyed me. I don't know. I really didn't like that.
Yeah, and talking about storylines that just don't line up very well, it kind of means that this whole subplot that has kind of been building ever since Days of Future Past, and it was even in Apocalypse, was the idea, of course, that Quicksilver was the son of Magneto. It just didn't go anywhere. And it's something I didn't think about until after the movie, where I was like, hang on a minute, this is potentially Fox's last X-Men film. You know, if this is the case, then they've just done nothing with that storyline. Maybe it's a minor storyline, sure, but it's a character storyline, right? Like, it's something that could have changed Magneto. It's something that could have made Magneto maybe a bit more caring or a bit more considerate. And it could have made...
Yeah, a scene with them together would have been good.
Yeah, so it kind of makes you think that
it's missed potential.
Yeah, again, it's missed potential. Yeah, exactly. That's what I was kind of getting at.
Because I feel like Quicksilver could have easily come back at the end, with the train and everything. Why couldn't he show up there?
Yeah, I don't understand.
Why couldn't... Actually, you know what? Why couldn't he come and save them?
I don't know. To tell you the truth, I was kind of thinking to myself, now that we're talking about Quicksilver in the film, who the hell was looking after Quicksilver back at the mansion?
Oh, well, just kids there.
Yeah, but that's it's another one of those things where you're they just took one of the main characters and went, crap, don't put him in the movie because he's too powerful, so we'll put him off to the side.
No, I think about it because at that point, freaking Jean's becoming good again anyways or whatever, so I don't understand why he couldn't come and fight some aliens at the end. He could have just caught up to the train. There's no reason why he couldn't have showed up.
Yeah, I don't know. He was wounded so much that he couldn't.
He just fell over. It was fucking stupid.
It was pretty dumb. I mean, I didn't really get it. And I thought, isn't it the same? I thought it was the same thing maybe as the Flash, he has super healing or something because he's got super speed. But I feel like whenever one of these movies does that, they go, "Oh no, he only has super speed. He can't have super. He can't have."
The point is, they could have easily fit him in, at least in that action sequence, and they chose not to, and that's just frustrating.
Yeah. Well, moving from Quicksilver, because there's so many characters to talk about here. Probably there's two more to talk about, in my opinion, or actually there's three, because I want to talk about Jessica Chastain's alien villain chick. But I want to move into Professor X. And what I talked about earlier, and that is that there's a lot of Professor X hating going on in this movie, and I don't really know why they went down that route. I know that they were trying to question the whole idea of the X-Men, obviously, and the legitimacy of the X-Men, and all the rest of the X-Men films, because obviously they've portrayed Professor X in a way where he's basically he's the wisest, I should say, of the lot. And they decided, he's made a mistake in this movie, and they're going to sit down and we're really going to critique him. But there are times where you're kind of okay, guys, everyone's piling on top of him, and I'm just give the guy a break. He's already disabled. Stop having a go at him.
Yeah, well, but what he did was wrong, though. I mean, that was an okay
Yes, but I understand.
the
It's
whole-
one of those things, though, right? It's like a double. It's like I was going to say, like it's a positive and a negative. Like what he did was wrong, but what he did to protect people, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like it's one of those situations where Beast has a go at him because of it, and I think Mystique had a go at him because of it, and like they all have a go at him because of it, and he, as the audience, we should be sitting there saying, well, hang on a minute, we're watching Jean do all this crazy stuff, and she's killing people and doing some pretty bad things. It kind of makes sense why he did what he did. Sure, it wasn't good, but
not at that point. She hadn't really done anything yet at that point.
Yeah, but she did injure. Like, I guess she's injuring people. I mean, the funny thing is, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm thinking about.
She had an outburst.
Yeah, I'm thinking about. She's had her outburst. She's injuring
but
people.
she has. But the thing is, she has the outburst because those memories come back to her.
Yeah.
That he blocked out originally, so it's kind of his fault. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess my point is, though, that he's done. I don't know. It's one of those things where Professor X has done so much good, and everyone's hating on him because of doing perhaps one thing bad.
I definitely felt like Beast turning against him was really random, but that was mainly afterwards, though.
Yeah. And I think that the kind of the lines between good and evil get blurred a little bit, I guess, because there's no more X-Men and Brotherhood in this movie. It's just people out for themselves. So I guess Beast was just thinking more about getting revenge for, again, if you've seen the movie, for Mystique's death. And, segueing into Mystique and Jennifer Lawrence. Oh my god.
Thank God she's dead. That's.
I know, that was. When that happened in the cinema, I literally just said to myself, thank God. Finally, get her out of this thing. Like,
Yeah, she's annoying.
It's just a waste of space. like, I've got nothing against Jennifer Lawrence as a person, but as an actress, she just phoned it in this movie, and she phoned it in X-Men Apocalypse, and it's just this continuing trend that you can tell that she hates playing this character, that she doesn't like putting on the makeup, hence why there's scenes where she's in, looking human, and you're kind of like, why is she looking human? And it's the same thing with the Nicholas Hoult who plays Beast. Both of them don't like wearing the makeup for their characters, and you're kind of like, if you don't like wearing the makeup for your characters, why are you playing the character? It's like they've probably been put into contracts or something. But again, it was just one of those instances where I'm thinking to myself, my God, can you just stop speaking?
Actually, I have a question about that. Since when was Beast able to just turn back into a person?
Well,
I thought he couldn't do that. I thought he had to inject himself with the stuff, and I didn't know he could just turn back.
Yeah, I'm guessing they changed it or something like that.
But was that shown in the movie,
no,
or did I just forget?
I think they just did it, yeah.
Okay, so he could just randomly transform in this one.
Because the thing I loved, as much as I do love Days of Future Past, when I think about First Class, and I think about the part where he tries to cure himself and then turns into Beast. It's such a great part of the movie, not necessarily for him, but as viewers, we're like, okay, this is the Beast we want. This is Beast, And then when it comes to Days of Future Past, they're suppressing their powers by taking the serum. So that also makes sense. I'm kind of like, okay, it makes sense that he's in human form because he doesn't, he's embarrassed or he doesn't like being Beast. Again, I completely understand that. But you get into Apocalypse, and you get into this movie, and the fact that he can change back and forth, and you're kind of like, so he's like the Hulk now? He's just Bruce Banner? Like, that's...
Yeah, because I thought... Yeah, wasn't he stuck the Beast always?
Yeah, he was stuck as the Beast, and after Days of Future Past, there was meant to be this acceptance of mutants, and the idea that if you're a mutant, be a mutant, and that's the same thing with First Class. So I'm just kind of like, why are we seeing him going back and forth? And that's that's another part of this movie that just takes me out. A part where I go...
Yeah, it's annoying. Just didn't make sense.
It takes me out because it makes me think about the fact that these actors did not want to wear the makeup, so they've found a way to just go, oh, look, bam, Mystique's changed into human form, bam, Beast has changed into human form as well, and it's just kind of like, really? Like, it just takes it away. Like, Beast should be Beast. Mystique should be Mystique. Like, the whole point of her character was that she was proud of who she was, right?
Yeah.
Why is she transforming into a human then? Like, it just doesn't make sense. Besides
I thought that too, didn't it?
Besides the fact that, as I've said, her character is just so, like... It's just annoying and disposable, and you're just like, can you just get out of the movie? You're supposed to be a villain, and you're a hero, and I don't understand, so can you get out?
Speaking of... No, yeah, it's because they just changed her origin. But yeah, speaking of Mystique's death, that's the thing, I thought, like, the whole Dark Phoenix thing, and, you know, Phoenix, she didn't really do that much. Like, she killed one X-Men and a few cops. And she almost killed some major characters, but was always able to stop herself. Like, I don't know. Like, I thought, like, she should have killed, like, more people. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that...
Like, more X-Men.
I think they were trying to avoid the issue they had with X-Men Last Stand, which was that the biggest criticism with X-Men Last Stand was that they killed Cyclops and they killed Professor X. And they basically...
honestly, if she killed Cyclops in this movie, I think it would have been good.
I think I would have liked Cyclops to have stayed alive. If she had killed, say, if she had just outright killed Quicksilver after he had like an action sequence or something, right? If you were like, oh my god, she just did that, I would have been like, oh, that's a way to get rid of Quicksilver that actually makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it would have been it would have been sad, but it would have been like a shocking moment. Yeah.
Yeah, and if it happened, and if it
killing off Mystique just felt so whatever, who cares?
Yeah, and if it, I was going to say,
such a cheap kill.
I was going to say that
people actually care about.
If it happened after, say, Quicksilver or Magneto, I should say, had found out that Quicksilver was his son or something, then it would have given Magneto more motivation. You know what I mean?
His motivation to just want to kill her doesn't even make sense. I don't know.
Yeah. Talking about... Sorry, moving on. It's because we're going to be stuck up. There's so many characters to talk about in this film. Moving on, I think finally we're going to talk about in terms of characters. Jessica Chastain's alien chick, whose name escapes me.
I don't know.
Okay, to be completely honest with you, these characters, for me, were more disposable than Steppenwolf in Justice League. I literally was just like, I don't care. You're just humans that are aliens. That I don't know what's happening with you people. It was just, you could tell it's another one of those elements, as you said, that's like thrown together. It's just chucked in, and you're just like, okay.
The whole time I could think of like, why are these aliens in the movie? It was like what they did in Captain Marvel, but 10 times worse. It's just like shit.
Yeah, I felt as if they were actually taken out of the film, it would be better.
Yeah, I didn't know there was gonna be aliens in this. I did not know that. I didn't see any trailers or anything. I don't know too much.
I think I had heard that Jessica
or
Chastain was going to be playing some sort of alien character or something like that. But as I said,
But the point being is, these aliens rocked up, and I'm like, oh, so there are actual like bad guys, I guess, in this, apart from Dark Phoenix. And then they'll just say throwaway villains that just didn't add anything to the film. They're just annoying.
Yeah, I mean, especially it's kind of like this. It's kind of like this. Sorry, I was going to say it's like we've been building all these X-Men movies up, and maybe it's got something to do with Fox thinking they would have done another X-Men movie after this. But it makes me think that had we gotten rid of the aliens entirely, we could have just had this movie focused literally on the X-Men. And
yeah, that would have been so much better. I feel like there wasn't enough character scenes with some of the characters anyway.
Definitely with Storm and Nightcrawler. Like, they were just there. Like, they were there for the appeal of seeing them use their powers. But that was it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, it's just like, okay. So it's like disposable characters are abundant. And some of them are just being thrown away. Some of them are just being, like, annoying. You know, some of them are conveying political, you know, themes and ideologies, and you're kind of like, it's one thing to convey a theme subtly. It's another thing to like bash me over the head with it and make me go, okay.
If you're talking about the X-women thing,
yes, the X-women thing.
That was definitely the worst line in the movie, and it just made me 10 times happier when she died.
It's just so, like... It's another one of those instances where...
It's on the nose, like hitting your nose with a fucking bat.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's another one of those instances where I understand what you're trying to convey to me with this line. I understand what you're trying to do. And there are ways that you can do this that are way more impactful than what she just said.
It didn't even make sense because Nightcrawler saved everyone anyways. It didn't even make sense. It's like, oh, the women do all the saving. When?
Yeah, I didn't... It's, again...
They didn't even do... What do you mean? It wasn't even relevant to the first scene of the movie. Why? Because she sucked up all the stuff. Yeah, but... I don't know.
I think it's just more or less the writer taking a jab at the name X-Men and trying to convey that Mystique or Raven isn't content with her life as an X-Men, nor should she be because she's a villain. But yeah, it's just another one of those moments that was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, well, like I already said, the writing's sloppy and it's not subtle, is it? It's just...
Yeah, but I have to at least try to stay on the positives in some sort of way because there are some good scenes here. The effects are still top notch. The action, as we said, the train sequence, but even other sequences are still really good. The beginning of the movie, the beginning sequence in space, that's actually really well done. As we pointed out, Fassbender, McAvoy did a great job. I thought Sophie Turner as Jean Grey was doing some really good stuff as well. There's no issues when it comes to the big characters, I feel like, in terms of those big characters. It's just other side characters who just kind of get thrown to the wayside. And there's no story beats that are carried over from Apocalypse or Days of Future Past, like we talked about with Beast and Mystique, and what we talked about with Quicksilver and Magneto. These elements that were built up in previous movies but were just kind of forgotten in this film. And by the time the movie ends...
Yeah, actually, that's what I want to say.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
This doesn't feel like a sequel.
Yeah.
Because you could easily just watch this movie without seeing any previous X-Men film, and it wouldn't make a difference. Because, exactly, all these side plots are forgotten about. You can easily piece everything together just going in and watching this.
Yeah. It's the same story with Apocalypse, right? Like, I would think that X-Men Apocalypse was a little bit better than this movie. Like, and I'll say that, in case our listeners were wondering. But that's not saying much, because Apocalypse wasn't a very amazing movie anyway. And in Apocalypse's case, not many things were carried over from Days of Future Past into that movie. But
that is saying much, because exactly, Apocalypse wasn't that great of a movie. It probably was the worst out of the initial trilogy. So there's no reason why this movie shouldn't have been able to top that.
Yeah. I mean, like, initially when I came out of the movie theater, I was like, oh, this was better than Apocalypse. But I think I was getting out of the movies with the high of that train sequence and the third act, which kind of, has a lot of action in it and it looks really cool. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. But then when you really get to the nitty gritty and you think about the plot, you're kind of like, this movie has so many, like, holes and just forgotten parts. And that's what I was getting at when you look at, say, something like Days of Future Past even, or even Apocalypse, there's just elements that just don't carry over in those movies either, but at least they're able to make them in such a way that, well, is just simply better.
Well, maybe that's the problem. Maybe Days of Future Past is just so damn good that you just can't top it now.
Yeah, but it's like one of those things, right? Like, when you look at Days of Future Past, its storylines don't necessarily link up with a movie like First Class, for example, or Last Stand, right? Or the Wolverine, the Wolverine set in Japan. Like, there are little hints to it, but what I'm saying is that the whole idea with Sentinels doesn't really carry over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that this, where in this movie things don't necessarily carry over. and I think you can feel that. But at least in Days of Future Past, you can forgive it because the movie just is so much, I was going to say so much better well made, but it's just better.
Oh yeah, I think that's probably one of my favorite superhero films. I love that movie.
Yeah, it's really well done, and it uses time travel in a really well way, just like a really good way, like Endgame uses time travel. And I just feel that this movie, it was below Apocalypse in the worst possible way because Apocalypse already felt...
Okay, when this movie finished, it just made me want to watch the first three again because they're all better. And at least I can see Quicksilver do something.
I know. I feel like we're repeating the same freaking ideas and notes about positives and negatives of this movie.
Oh, I ran out of things to say ages ago.
And I feel like I'm just rambling at this point because it's just like, what else is there to say other than the fact that if you want to see an X-Men... if you want to see an X-Men movie, literally go and watch... Like you could watch Apocalypse... You could watch Days of Past, you could watch First Class, X-Men 1, X-Men 2, probably not Last Stand or Origins Wolverine, but any other X-Men movie you would probably watch and get a better movie out of it.
Yeah, I ran out of things to say like 10 minutes
Alright. Look, we'll probably get into our scores then, and then we'll probably leave it at that. But let's just get stuck in then. Okay, what are you going to give the movie out of 5?
Look... I don't know. We are being harsh, but it was okay. Like when it was over, I just kind of thought it was alright. Yeah, it was okay. It wasn't the worst movie I've seen. Definitely wasn't the best. I don't know. I want to say it was. I'm deciding whether it was just a flat average or was below average. That's what I'm really struggling with here.
Yeah, well, you can go either way. It's up to you. If it's a 2.5, if it's a 2.5 for you.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I'm just gonna. Yeah, I'm gonna do a 2.5, and I think it is a bit below average. It was pretty disappointing.
Well, I feel like this is probably another movie where I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt. I think that there are parts of it that are really good. There are some good performances in here, and at least those performances carry the movie, and at least the train sequence improved the film significantly. To the point where I would say that this movie is at least slightly above average for me. And because of that, I mean, I'm going as far as to say it's a 3 out of 5. But I'm saying it's a 3 out of 5 if you're an X-Men fan. I'm saying that as if, if you're an X-Men fan who wants to see this final movie, then go see it. And you might enjoy some of it. You'll probably, like us, not enjoy the rest of it. But as a standalone movie, it's just kind of like, very,
Especially after Logan.
Yeah, well, even after freaking Deadpool 2, man, at least that, even that had its, way better moments, but anyway.
Yeah.
Alrighty, I think we'll leave it at that for this week, guys. It's been fun being back. We'll definitely get around to pumping out some more videos. But for now, wishes the best, and we'll talk to you later.
Yeah, more audio videos coming soon.
Alright.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Good night.